All right, hello and welcome to another Tabunda podcast episode. My name is Joe.
And I'm Caleb.
And today we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel. It's kind of unfortunate this is our first Marvel movie we're reviewing because this kind of has a lot of baggage attached to it, and we're kind of going to have to do maybe a disclaimer or two at the beginning. So this movie has a bunch of controversy surrounding it, which I don't really care much about at all. I don't think you do either.
No.
I don't think either of us care about what Brie Larson really has to say about film critics, and we don't really care about what a bunch of internet trolls have to say back to her. Both went in the movie with relatively open minds. That being said, we haven't really talked about Marvel movies before. I think it's safe to say that neither of us are the hugest superhero fan.
No.
We did talk about this in the Glass episode, I believe, but there's some of the Marvel movies I like, but I'm never really ecstatic about many of them. They're fun. I like some of them a lot more, especially some of the Phase 3 ones a lot more than the other ones. I have to say, the writing's been getting better as we've neared the end game, one could say.
I'm a pretty decent fan of them now. Yeah, I get hyped for these movies, but I'm not like a diehard fan. I'm not going to get mad about stuff. I'm not in the DC Marvel war.
The DC fan. They've done a good job of pulling me into the universe.
And being consistent.
I really liked the first Iron Man, and then almost everything after that, I was pretty meh on. I really didn't bite into any of them at all. Winter Soldier's when the scripts first started getting really refined, and then I really liked Civil War, and then I kind of loved Infinity War, and I think they latched me in. But I don't want to sound like I'm overtly harsh in this movie, but even some of the best Marvel movies, I still usually rank them personally around the 70 to 75 range. So before we proceed, don't think I'm going into this movie wanting to bash it or thinking it's exceptionally terrible, because I don't really hold that many of the Marvel movies in high regard, as much as I do enjoy some of them.
Yeah, I love the series as a whole. I like the series as a whole more than I like most individual movies. Like when I see Infinity War,
that's a good way to sum it up.
I get really excited because it's like, oh shit, like I've seen all these movies.
So let's just get on and let's start talking about Captain Marvel now that we got those little disclaimers and background of us on the Marvel movies out of the way. I saw the first trailer and I was kind of worried by the first trailer I saw. It looked a little generic.
Yeah.
The origin story of Amnesia looked like it was going to make for a messy script and maybe one that had a lot of pacing issues. And I gotta say, unfortunately, I don't know, it kind of rang true.
Yeah, no, the trailers were really good for this movie, and by that I mean they're pretty accurate to the final product. I wasn't pumped about the trailers either, and most of the problems that I saw in the trailers were true. So I went in with kind of low expectations, but I walked out happier than I thought it was going to be. But doesn't really say that much.
Yeah, okay, one thing I want to talk about with the trailer before we move on to, I can't believe they put her punching that old lady in the trailer.
I don't know, I kind of was like,
it's weird, especially as a movie that wants to be like a female icon movie. I don't know, it was strange to me.
Well, I think it might just be one of those things that's like, it's shocking, like it gets your attention.
I don't know, it's one of those things where you think back in like the old Hollywood studio system where they really paid attention to subtext and what kind of messages they were sending in their films, and it's like, man, that's just something people would just be like, you want to put us punching an old lady in the trailer for this movie? No, it doesn't matter about the context. No. But I don't know. It was just odd to me, and it was odd that if I were that big of an actor and they put that in the trailer, I would definitely have my agent ringing them up and being like, hey, you got to recut this trailer. But whatever, it's not that big of a deal.
I would call him and
obviously
be like,
in the movie, as its context, that's not just an old lady being beat.
I would call him and be like, thank you. That's exactly the public persona I wanted to build for myself. So how does this movie start? I don't even remember.
It kind of starts it's kind of a gut punch start, and I actually kind of like the beginning, because the beginning is very akin to the level that the Marvel Universe has been at recently, which is like this huge intergalactic massive space scale thing where it's kind of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I actually liked it where she's on board this like kill team and they're going down to this planet to like annihilate this threat, and they're all kind of tactical, and it actually felt like a Star Wars movie for a little bit. And like when I mean a Star Wars movie, I mean like an actual Star Wars movie, not one where it's like Poe Dameron and his X-Wing flying around like a superhero. Like this superhero felt more like a war film at first than a Star Wars movie, which is kind of weird, but I like.
Is there stuff before they go to the planet though?
So this movie starts and it has what I am going to coin as fast movie syndrome, which is not good, especially in the start, where the movie's just kind of like trucking along really fast. And it doesn't actually feel very like the movie itself doesn't feel like it's interested in conveying the information that it's conveying. It feels like it's doing it out of obligation just to move the plot along, and that's just not a way you want to start your movie.
Well, there's one part that is almost like the movie parodying itself for doing that. When her and Jude Law fight, and they're talking about her
Powers
training or whatever. Yeah. And then they go to that planet, and she gets captured by the Skrulls, and they're like messing with her mind. This scene is bad.
Yes. And this is one of the big issues of the movie that a lot of people are talking about. Go ahead and say what you're going to say, but I think I know exactly what you mean.
It's just really weirdly edited together. It's like, I guess you're supposed to be in Brie Larson's character's confusion with this, but it spends so much time on it, and it's almost like you're supposed to start figuring out, like...
You're talking about her when they're mind probing her and they're finding like her subconscious memories of her on Earth.
And I like got that, but I was just like, it's just a really weird scene that could have been...
Well, this actually applies with one of the major issues of the movie, and that's, well, two big issues in the movie, and one that's plot structure, and then also the characterization of Captain Marvel herself. That structure is directly tied into Captain Marvel's character arc. And it's a sloppily done structure where it feels like they filmed it linear fashion, or like had a script that was a linear fashion, and then in the editing room started just moving parts around to see how they could segment this. And with them doing that and having a voiceover of the Kree, it feels like, the voiceover with the Skrull interrogating her, it feels kind of like a post-fix for how to structure their plot.
I'm trying to think about a better way to do it. Because obviously, if you have an amnesia plot, if you're going to do that, the way to make it interesting is that you're kind of seeing through the eyes of the person with amnesia, and you're trying to figure out, who they are and their situation with them.
That was pretty tough on Alita, but I think Alita actually did the amnesia plot way better than this movie has.
She didn't know who she was, where she came from, and you figure it out along the way. It's not like you got her whole backstory at the beginning and then... But then she's also...
But the backstory also isn't even that much of it. I mean, it is a backstory. The backstory is basically she's just a girl who joined the Air Force. And
but that's the only really
because it's all voiceover. This voiceover of a Skrull interrogating. There's not actually any characterization through her dialogue in those flashbacks. Should we go into Captain Marvel herself as a character? Because this is, like I said, tied to the structure, and this is one of the things where it's like... her character, when she's Captain Marvel versus, what's her character's name?
Carol Danvers.
Carol Danvers, that's it, yeah. Carol Danvers. And she plays the same character both times. She doesn't seem that different. Just one time she's in an alien suit, but she's kind of the same person both times.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard to not compare this to Wonder Woman. And so that's a movie where you have a very fish out of water storyline.
Very much so.
But they play it up, and it is very fish out of water, like, to the character. And in this movie, I mean, it's like an idea that I kind of like, that she gets to this planet, and she's, like, already been to 1,000 planets, so Earth isn't really that special to her. But I don't know. You never really get a clearer sense of her more. I don't know.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk about this later, but I guess we could just jump on to Brie Larson also. Just to prove that I'm trying to be fair about this movie, if I were about to go see this movie and I hadn't seen it yet, and someone told me Brie Larson was really bad in it, I might look at them and be like, you probably had some bias. You probably went to the movie with some bias and wanted to hate it, because this is a Marvel movie. They do a good job casting. Even when the characters and the script is kind of bland and meh, the actors always do a really good job handling it. I was kind of floored by how bad Brie Larson was in this movie. Yeah. I know you may not agree with me, but...
Well, it's weird. It's like, to me, I thought it was a spotty performance. And in surprising...
And that's fair.
Surprising parts, like, when I saw the trailer, she looked very just, like, dull and kind of boring. But there are parts where she is charming and kind of funny, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this. But in the dramatic scenes, especially, it's she just... wasn't even there or something. It was weird.
It's really bad. I mean, I'm probably confidently say this is the worst acting I've seen in any of the Marvel movies. And from the dead center lead character, it's just shocking to me how bad she is. This is an Academy Award winning actress. And I didn't see Room, but I know what Room's about, and I know that movie wouldn't have gotten the reviews it did if it had bad acting in it.
Oh no, she's great in that movie.
Yeah,
And it's very.
that's
I mean,
what I'm saying. It's one of those movies that it needs to have good acting, and otherwise it wouldn't be a good movie. And then I watched this movie, and I'm like, and Brie Larson seemed so passionate about the character and the role and like what it meant, and then to see her actual final performance, I was just beside myself. Like you said in the trailer, to me she didn't seem bad in the trailer. She just seemed very generic, which is like that's one thing, But in the movie, it was just like the most wooden acting I've ever seen since like Padme and the Star Wars prequels. It was flooring, and I didn't want to come out of the movie and say that. I know there's some like trolls out there getting some Schadenfreude out of that, but I'm just like amazed. There's like shots where they have dialogue, and it's like her partner Rambo, who she sees for the first time forever, and she's on this dialogue where she's like tearing up, and then it cuts to Brie Larson, and Brie Larson is just deadpan, just staring there, and you know that the editor knows this is bad because the editor. Okay, so when you're filming a scene, it's very hard to get a perfect take. So what people will do is you'll do a couple takes. You'll have a take where an actor does great in the beginning, and then they mess up at the end. Then you'll have one that's vice versa, where they do okay in the beginning, and then they nail it in the end. And you can splice those two together. And you splice those two together with doing a cutaway in between them. And you cut away to the person they're talking to and show their reaction while this is happening. This movie does that for the Rambo character. She's having this big emotional speech, and she's crying, and she's like doing a great job acting. And then cutaway to Brie Larson, completely fucking deadpan. Just not even like a squint in her eye. And then you can tell the editor was like, oh God, this is bad. Because the editing it cuts to her, it holds on her for like just the bare amount of minimum time, and then cuts back, like almost choppily.
Yeah.
And it was insane for me to watch.
I
guess that's the end of my rant on that. You can go ahead and talk about it.
My moment that I was like, God, this is not good, which is a few moments after that. She goes outside at Rainbow's house, and somebody says something to her. It might have been the Skrull, I'm not sure. And her line is something like, I don't even remember who I am, or something. And it looks like filmed her when she was just going over her line to remember it, or something. She's just like staying there. She's like, I don't even remember who I am. I was like, what? That's it? Could have been like a dramatic something, but she's just like, I don't know if she's trying to play it like really strong, like all the time, but she never seems to lose her cool or get that emotional about anything.
That's another thing about her is that you never really get a sense of who this character is, because sometimes she's quippy and fun, sometimes she's like serious, and then I don't know, it seems like she was trying to play a different person every day she showed up to set, and it's just I don't get any character out of her. I watched Man with a Golden Gun a few nights ago, and a pretty terrible Bond movie, and one of the things that's really bad about it, and this is bad writing, is they want to make the character a badass, but they don't know how to write that well. So instead, they just write them being a dick. And I kind of got that vibe in this movie too. She's supposed to be a badass, but then she's just kind of. It's like Samuel Jackson's talking to her, and he's like, "Why should I still trust you?" And then she just like shoots the jukebox, and it's like, "What? Because you're gonna fucking kill him if he doesn't?" Like, I don't know, like.
I don't know. No one. I liked the quippy, funny stuff. I got the best sense of her character from that stuff and how she.
But the only time she really seemed quippy and funny to me was with Samuel L. And they were bouncing off each other very well. That was when her character was at the best. But that's I don't know. That makes it seem like Samuel L. was a bit of a crutch. And I do firmly. I walked out of the movie and I was like, man, if Samuel L. wasn't in that movie, that would have been miserable.
Samuel L. Some of his lines don't work, which is shocking to say, and it's not Samuel L. Jackson's fault. I think it's just like the dialogue. But there were some moments of like awkward silence after a joke of his in the theater. Some of them, I swear, there were just like pauses after he spoke. Like
this movie was definitely like a C on the scale of Marvel joke writing. It was down there.
Yeah, it was funnier than I thought it was going to be because it looked like not funny at all. But it's
definitely got some chuckles out of me.
When I walked out, I was like, it's literally a Marvel movie. I think it's going to be the same no matter what, It's not as funny as like a Ant-Man, but it's base level humor in these movies is a lot. At least just like attempting a lot. But sometimes tonally it switched around for me because like the humor would really work some places, and sometimes I was like, did you guys become aware that you're in a movie all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Like at the
very much
end,
so.
some of the jokes with Ben Mendelsohn's Skrull character were.
There's the one time the humor really works for me. And the one time I actually thought the writing in the movie was like good and kind of at this meta level is when they're talking with the Skrull at the dinner table when they're like convincing her that the Kree are actually bad. Because at first I'm watching this scene, I'm like, this is one of those things where I'm watching it, I'm like, this is ridiculous looking. Like, do the directors not know that this looks ridiculous? And then they have some jokes where it's like the station's in orbit, and then the Skrull is like, it was in orbit. And he looks, he's like, yo, my science officer, did you know it was in orbit? And he like the other one's like, eh. That was pretty great.
Yeah,
I was laughing there. I'm
you're
like,
my
this is the Marvel,
guy.
this is the James Gunn-esque like Marvel writing that you kind of need for this otherwise really goofy looking scene. And then you get some, I don't know. I actually kind of liked when they were running around in the bunker with Sam L and Bree.
Yeah, that part was fun.
How do you feel about the cat? This has been like a big point of contingency for a lot of people. This is like the most divisive part of the movie, aside from Brie Larson's comments, is the cat.
I mean, the cat was fine. I don't get why people are like freaking out about the cat. Like it's so like it stole the show. The cat. I was like, no. I mean, not really.
So to me, it's got one is it was really obvious. And then I was also getting, the people saying the cat stole the show. It's a bit of like Baby Groot syndrome, where it's just like, I don't know, man, it kind of killed me a little bit. Where like the fifth time Samuel L. Jackson is like, you're so cute, you're a cute little cat, and then people sort of like, ha ha ha, and it's like, dude, come on, like Jesus Christ. The fifth fucking time they did it so much.
Yeah, we get it. Like Samuel L. Jackson doesn't seem like he would maybe do that.
Yeah,
that's about it.
But I'm still on the cat. Hang on.
And then, the cat turns out to be...
They mention it immediately, and you know something's up with this cat. They have that shot when it's like watching them. I thought it was going to be like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where it's like the most sentient creature in the galaxy or some shit. Ends up being a monster with like a Cthulhu mouth. They do that, and then like they do this scene where they look at each other, and then they look at the cat, and they're like, whoa. And then like 10 seconds later, they do the exact same scene again, where it like shoots tentacles out of its mouth, eats a bunch of Kree guards. And then they look at each other, and then they look at the cat, and they're like, whoa. And I was like, you just did that. You just fucking did that.
Yeah, it maybe could have worked better as just a one-time...
It didn't have to eat the Tesseract. They could have just had it eat the soldiers, and that would have been a little bit, I don't know. I feel like that would have been better used.
So the cat's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even... Low-hanging fruit.
You could have cut the cat out, and I wouldn't have even cared.
Yeah, I was a little pissed that the final end credits scene was just the cat hawking at the Tesseract.
Yeah, I was like, is it going to reveal something about it?
It wasn't like the Tesseract went missing in a scene, and they're like, where's the Tesseract? What happened? The Kree have it. And it's like, it wasn't like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, we saw the cat eat it, and then later we see it throw it up. And you could have just not had that end scene. It would be like, what happened? It's like, oh, the cat threw it up later, pooped that out or something. Like, who cares? The Marvel movie end credit scenes used to be like really like insightful for the next movie and kind of used to like build hype for it. This one was just like, yeah, it's the cat hawking up a hairball to set up for a movie that we've already seen. In
a scene that will probably be in the next movie that just says she's going to be in it.
That kind of detracts from the next movie because now Captain Marvel doesn't get an interesting entrance in the next movie. She's just going to fucking be there.
But, okay, so in that scene, way better acting than half this scene, or half this movie.
Yeah,
she says like one line. And I was like, where was that the whole movie?
Oh, from Brie Larson?
Yeah, she looks like...
No, see, to me, I was watching her next to... Who's in the scene? Was it Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah.
And it's like Scarlett Johansson playing like an infinitely more bland side character, doing a 100 times better job acting than Brie Larson's done the entire movie. And then we see... Brie Larson shows up, and it looks like she either has a wig on or her hair had been like very quickly dyed, or it was like... maybe like overworked on in the makeup trailer. I don't know. It looked a little weird. And then she just delivers, and her deadpan face just, where's Nick Fury?
I don't know. She looked like she had something that she cared about in that scene, which for most of the movie she doesn't. So I was like, it might be director problems at its core.
Yes, you know what I mean? It really might be. Well, there's one thing when I talked about her doing like the reaction face. Okay, yeah, a director shouldn't have to stop the camera and be like, hey, Brie, can you react while the other character talks? You know, that's something a director should not have to do. Is it something the director should have done making this movie? Probably, but it didn't happen. But this movie does have other things that does not have to do with Brie Larson that I think might be the director's issues. I don't really know if I have too much confidence in this directing duo.
Yeah.
Especially after this movie, because it does have a lot of script problems. And the movie is pretty tonally off throughout all of it. It kind of just switches up what it is at certain points. It's like hardcore 90s nostalgia when she first lands. And it works at that point. I know some people were like a little overloaded by it and they were like, eh. But it feels like 90s LA. It's filmed like it would be a movie in 90s LA. And then they have a chase scene that kind of reminds me of the bike chase in Terminator 2. And I was like, yeah, this works. This is working with young Samuel L. and he's driving these Lincolns and all these older cars.
With
and
Agent
just kind of
Coulson.
drops that after a certain point.
Besides the music.
Yeah, except for the music, which isn't integrated into the movie diegetically, and some really bad needle drops in this one that a lot of people have unanimously had gripes with.
Come As You Are was the worst needle drop since Suicide Squad.
Since Pitbull, maybe? I don't know. I've made the Pitbull one better.
Pitbull was better, man. At least there was
somehow the Pitbull in Aquaman was better than Nirvana in this movie.
At least I was like, is that the third fucking Pitbull needle drop in this movie?
Yeah, it's kind of ballsy at that point.
Yeah, this was just like, oh god, like
terrible,
and it didn't even fit. Like they didn't do anything cool with it or make a scene like that works with the music, or it's just. I want to talk about awful.
I want to talk about quote unquote nostalgia movies. I have this issue with like Stranger Things and stuff too, where it's like we're making a nostalgia. It's set in this time period, and it's like they use music, but the music is fucking music that's still played today. It's like you watch like Stranger Things and they have like Clash, like London Calling playing or something like that, and then you watch this movie and it's like 90s. It's like Nirvana, Come As You Are, and it's like, come on, that I don't know, I don't buy that as like nostalgia. That feels like something where people who weren't alive at the time went and Googled like songs from the 90s and then like put it in the movie.
Yeah, I loved watching like an old 80s movie and some characters like, let's put on some tunes or whatever, and they turn on the radio and it's like some song you have never heard ever, and everybody seems to love it, and I'm like, was this a hit song like that month of this year, or is this just made for the movie? Like I have no idea. And this is so stuck in its time.
And I think that's why the soundtrack to movies like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction are so great. Because they're a little more organic like that. And they have these niche songs. But yeah, you compare this scene of them playing Come As You Are. Because, okay, the whole mainframe as a nemesis is already incredibly weak in this movie as it is. And then you get that needle drop for that scene. And it's totally inappropriate. And you compare that scene and that needle drop to like Guardians of the Galaxy Hooked on a Feeling scene. Fucking night and day difference in how to shoehorn a song into your movie.
Every song in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was well placed, even if it was like a song on paper that wouldn't fit. Kind of like Reservoir Dogs, like Stuck in the Middle with You. It's like this weird torture scene. It's perfect. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy and their use of music. This movie was just, hey, here's a 90s female artist, and then Nirvana. That was it. Yeah. It was just, oh, here's another one.
And that 90s nostalgia angle doesn't mesh at all with this, like, glowing blue, steel, sleek, CGI, blue screen set, Marvel universe, like, third phase, space station. It just doesn't mesh at all.
I mean, I didn't mind the 90s nostalgia for a while. The songs got out of hand, definitely.
The songs weren't integrated with the movie. They were integrated at such a bad level. It felt almost like Suicide Squad.
But like the blockbuster thing was fun. That maybe would have been fun if it wasn't in the trailer.
That was fine, yeah.
Little things like that. The beeper,
the Radio Shack.
Young Samuel L. Jackson, which was pretty cool. The de-aging stuff. I feel like he didn't really look like 90s Samuel L. Jackson though.
I could see why they would make him look a little bit different just for the sake of the role. Like, you know, he's playing Nick Fury. He's not playing Samuel L. Jackson.
Just, like, weird. I was trying to figure out, like, why do you look not like you did? I don't know.
Yeah, that tech is definitely getting better, though.
Yeah, no, this was a good use of it and everything. Agent Coulson looked weird. He looked like he had a plastic face.
I didn't remember that character from the other Marvel movies, but other people did. So I was like, okay, this guy's probably another Marvel movie, but I don't know.
Yeah, so this movie's so jumbled up, it makes sense for us to just jump around based on, like, topics instead of, like, the beginning.
I mean, the movie itself jumps around, too. Yeah, it's hard to talk about some of it without leading into other stuff.
What did you think of Jude Law?
Needed more screen time and a little more something else. He was a good villain. He's a good actor. He's a good actor to play a villain, too. I like that quite a bit, but he's kind of just in the beginning, and then he just kind of shows up in the end to be that bad guy. And then he just gets zapped. Which I saw coming a million miles away when she was just like, you know, punched him. that's another issue with this movie. Every little like quip like that, I saw all those little quips coming in this movie. It was all very fucking like this movie was very predictable, even on this like a micro level.
Did they like do any makeup on him or anything? Or maybe they just shot him weird.
He had contacts. He had his contacts with his.
His face looked so. Maybe it's just Jude Law's getting older, but he kind of looks really cool. His face is like crazy looking now. He's got like way more defined. Yeah, he's just way more defined like angles and stuff. And I guess maybe I just haven't seen him in a movie in a while. But
yeah, that's probably it.
But he just looks like I want this guy to be a villain in like something else too. This guy's awesome.
Yeah, he played pretty well, and I kind of wish he was in another script. And he's also kind of like sidelined for the Ronin as a villain, who still sucks in this movie too. He sucked in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He sucks in this movie. He just shows up, shoots 10 missiles, and then is like they blow up, and he's like, let's run away.
Yeah.
And he's got a case of the he's got a little bit of the Darth Maul syndrome. Every time you see him, he has a fucking hammer in his hand, and it's like, dude, just put that thing away. Like, you don't need that right now. Like, you're a hologram right now. Why do you need to be holding a weapon? You're not going to intimidate someone through a hologram.
But I like my hammer.
Yeah, every shot he's holding the hammer. It's like, dude, that thing's got to be heavy, man. Just give it a rest. You're going to have like fucking carpal tunnel or something.
Just have a whole movie about Ronin, like, on his off day. He's like at the beach, but he's still got the hammer. He's just like,
one thing about Ronin, and I was actually kind of interested in this movie because he was so lame in Guardians of the Galaxy that I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe they give him a backstory. They can make him kind of more badass. And the trailers for this movie, I wasn't impressed by it, but at the same time, I was telling myself, I'm like, you know what? These are the guys who made the big prune man Thanos cool. They can do anything. So maybe this trailer is like, you know, maybe they'll make this cool. Maybe they'll make Ronin cool too. And they just didn't. It just didn't happen.
Nah, he's like just a plot device, really.
Yeah. He's a slight plot device and then a really soft core big villain at the end. That's like almost like a fan service villain.
Yeah, I never felt much threat in this movie because the big threat for most of the movie is the Skrulls. And then they're just fine. I don't think the movie does a great job of that turn because...
Yeah, it's kind of... I mean, it's been done a bunch, and I felt like Marvel could have done something a little bit cooler with that, and I expect them to do a little bit more interesting stuff with their script rather than just being like, we're the good guys, actually.
I kind of wish they had just stayed the bad guys, because that was probably my favorite. I just liked the Skrulls doing Skrull shit. It was cool.
Just being green.
Yeah, and I was like, this is a cool villain, you know? I'm into this. And then...
You know what was kind of funny to me? How the Skrulls, like, they didn't, like, alter their voice at all for some of them. Like, some of them they did. Some of them were, like, super CGI goblin, like, looking things with huge eyes. And others were just, like, actors in prosthetics. And then, like, there's one shot in the beginning when they're in the control room where, like...
Oh, I love this.
There's one Skrull who has, like, another line, and he talks, and he's, like... It's just, like, this average-ass voice, and he's just, like... Hey, there's some things going on over here. And it's just, like... You guys, like, give it a filter. Like, put a filter on it and make it be like... There's some things over here. It was weird. And the Australian accent lead is fine, but...
I loved the giant eye Skrulls.
Little goblin ones.
Why can't they all be giant eye Skrulls? They were awesome. So Ben Mendelsohn is bad. Seems very evil. Then he's good.
They're like shooting each other on sight. Like on sight, they're like going for each other's throats. And then all of a sudden he just like shows up with a Coke and is like, you want to be friends?
Yeah, I was like, this is a trap. If you fall for this, like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
There's something
need more of a catalyst to start that turn.
They look outside and Rambo has been like Skrullified and gives like a creepy smile back to her. I was like, well, your daughter's probably going to die. There's all sorts of things that can go bad right now. And they're just like, whoa, like, let's be friends. And I was like, no. First of all, I don't know. I have an interesting...
First of all, they look like goblins, goddammit. I saw what they did in Lord of the Rings.
I didn't buy that they were just good guys. And then they're just totally good guys after that. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, there needed to be more of a catalyst to it, or a little more like, I don't know, it didn't feel organic, and it felt like a bad, like, 50s sci-fi movie, kind of.
What? The joke where Samuel L. Jackson is at the autopsy and, like, looks at the Skrulls like junk? I was like, okay, I don't know.
But then, that was a little weird, yeah.
Yeah, I was like...
Check out some alien dong. That was like that. Yeah, that's a bit like Luke Skywalker milking the sea cow.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little
Freudian.
And you didn't think
maybe Samuel Jackson. I could see Samuel L. Jackson improving that. Actually, I thought about that right when I saw it. It's like, what if he's just like looking to see if they actually like did prosthetics down there? You know?
He's like, this movie needs.
And then the other actor was like, and then they decided to put it in.
Yeah, but the other actor guy was a Skrull in secret, and like I don't know, I think he would be upset. You murdered his friend, and he just shows up and he's like, "All right, we're cool." I don't know. The Skrulls were kind of disappointing. I was kind of sad that they were not bad guys.
Yeah, I would have liked to see more fighting between the Skrulls and the Kree too. There's a little bit at the end, but it's just kind of meh.
My interesting angle on this movie, something about I'm gonna try to like make sense of it. So the Skrulls make it apparent that they aren't
A
like
threat. They're running.
yeah, and they're like, oh yeah, we've got blood on our hands too. Nobody's, we've all
Innocent in
done
this war.
well, yeah, we've all done terrible things and stuff. And so Brie Larson has lived the past 6 years of her life being trained that these Skrulls are like super evil,
Yeah.
and then she just doesn't anymore, and then she's fighting for the Skrulls, and then
Yeah. It's a bit like Finn in
before
Force
that she was in the U.S. military. I just feel like her character is that she's just like is easily like led to fight for things. Like now she's probably going to fight with the Avengers for their thing. And it's like, what do you actually like stand for and believe? Because you just like you fought for the military. That's great, yeah. But then you get taken to a whole new world with whole new ideals, and you end up in the military again. And then you meet with the Skrulls, and they're like, "Hey, we're not bad. Like your guys are bad." And she's like, "Yeah, you're right. I'll fight for you now." And then it's like next movie, fighting for the Avengers. That's the only real character.
It's a really weak written character, unfortunately. I hate to say that, I really do. I mean, fortunately, I'm not alone when I think that this is a relatively weak character with a relatively weak performance behind it. And by fortunately, I'm not alone, I mean, fortunately, there's other people who aren't internet trolls who feel that way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I hate to validate that. I don't want to give those people any validation, but like, jeez, man. Jeez.
But even with all that, even with all the problems, I think it's still better than some of the other Marvel movies.
It's definitely down there for me. See, I don't know. I think I might like it more than Age of Ultron, but it's definitely like getting to that level.
It's probably going to stick in my memory about on the same level as Ant-Man and the Wasp. Even though Ant-Man and the Wasp, I enjoyed it more while I was watching it. They're both really forgettable movies. And then you're like...
funny and charming and kind of smaller scale, which I liked. This is a huge scale, huge epic scale, and then you just get this like limp dead performance of this character who's like now the tentpole, and it's just like, Jesus. One of the most damning things about this movie, and I didn't think this would be possible, but this movie actually kind of did make me less excited for Endgame, because kind of mainly because Brie Larson's performance. And maybe this will be completely fixed, because maybe she'll do great under another director and have a better script for a character, so maybe it'll get completely washed away. I didn't like Doctor Strange very much in that movie. Cumberbatch did a great job playing him, but I didn't like the character very much. But I ended up liking Doctor Strange a lot in the other movies he shows up in. So maybe it'll be a case of that. And I don't want to like keep bashing on Brie Larson, because I really went in this movie with like as little bias as I could possibly have. And she's an Academy Award winning. The most bias I'm going in with is knowing that she's an Academy Award winning actress. And I got just, I think, maybe the worst acting performance I've seen in any of the Marvel movies, which is unfortunate to say.
Yeah, definitely.
This might be a hardcore case of director issues.
When Samuel L's, some of his lines don't work.
It's a bit of a red flag, you think, for the director?
Yeah. I don't know. This movie's just middle of the road for me. It was...
So, what would you give Captain Marvel, Caleb?
Like in the 60 to 70 range, maxing out at like 70.
Can you get a little more specific?
I'll give it a 70.
70?
Yeah.
That's what I would give like Winter Soldier. Yeah, I'd give this movie like a 45, man. There were parts where I was like, I didn't feel like I was watching a movie because the acting was so bad. And I didn't like, oh my god, it's so shitty to review this movie and give it like that review and have to specifically bash the person that people wanted to hate this movie for. Like, I didn't want to do that, and I didn't expect to do that. I was just blown away. I can't emphasize much how much I was blown away by how wooden Brie Larson was in it. It's some of the worst acting I've seen in a movie in a long time. And her arc is the structure of the movie, is the amnesia being revealed, and for that structure to fall, and for the directing to kind of come up short, and for Brie Larson's performance to be wooden, it's that like it all just the house of cards falls for me. that drops it down like probably 15% for me. And the only joy I got out of this movie is watching young Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury.
So I think why I rated it high is because it's very just Marvel formula stuff. You can just be entertained and leave the theater and be like, yeah, it was alright. Most of the time, I never really want to watch the movies again because there's no real reason to.
I was thinking that while I was watching it. Like, I'm never going to watch this movie again.
I might actually now because I do want to watch. I want to study her performance a little more.
Please.
No,
I'll watch the movie again.
I did think it was like half of it was bad. And I was like, certain scenes were just like noticeably bad. But then other scenes, I thought she was fine. I was like, what is going on? But the story is strange. Like, it doesn't work the way it's put together.
It's not just writing, though. It's also editing. Like, this could have been edited differently to convey the same message.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. It's a very complicated story. Like, it's not one that I would pick to adapt from the...
Oh, never. Amnesia? No, never.
You're amnesia,
it's weak,
but
honestly.
you're also...
It's a weak point.
You know who
Especially
you are.
to hinge your character arc on that.
Because
usually amnesia stories have character arcs beyond just the amnesia. Usually they have character arcs that also involve, like, becoming, realizing what it means to have a moral compass or something like that, which could have been done with her being a kill squad for the Kree. But, fuck it. For me, a big thing is that this is, like, kind of the legs of the chair falling out from under Marvel. If you think about why this movie exists and the premise for it, not talking about like social agendas or anything, but talking about like why this movie exists structurally, it is to almost retcon a character into their next movie. And that's a pretty bad point for an expanded universe. Marvel might finally be hitting that wall where they're stretching out their elbows of how far they can expand this universe in a quality manner.
Agreed.
You done?
Yeah.